The Bears' two-game win streak came to an end yesterday, but if you ask DJ Moore, his pairing with Justin Fields, it should be far from over. After Chicago's three-point loss to the Browns, the wideout told reporters that Fields is better than the QBs coming out in the draft, more likely referring to Caleb Williams and Drake May. The Bears still have projected to come away with that #1 overall pick. And in Ryan Wilson's latest mock draft, he says, I hear you, DJ Moore, but I am not listening to you. The Bears selecting Caleb Williams out of USC as the top overall selection in the draft. And then the Patriots going with Drake May out of UNC at #2. And Marvin Harrison still holding down spot #3, junior that is, heading over to the Cardinals. So, of course, the man of the hour, Ryan Wilson, has to join us now. When DJ Moore has his wishes, Ryan, you have your thoughts that they're going to go Caleb Williams, despite Moore giving all of the praise towards Justin Fields. Do you think that for Fields and Moore, this is a sake of teammates sticking up for each other, or do you think that this is really what Moore believes?
First off, Zach, I want to go by Ryan Harris Wilson from now on. I'm going to use my middle name going forward, so make sure you get that in there.
Gotcha.
Number two, DJ Moore's not wrong. And you and I were talking about this a moment ago before we came on the air here. Very few people on planet Earth can do what Justin Fields does. And you could argue he's one of the most athletic, if not the most athletic quarterback in the NFL right now. We know what he can do with his legs. We know what his ability is outside the pocket, to create outside the pocket. But I was telling you, I went back and watched the Lions game, that game they won last week, a huge win for the Bears. And there were a lot of things that Justin did well, but he struggled to throw the ball on time consistently. And we talk all the time about Caleb Williams not being able to do that. Caleb actually does do it. I think that's sort of a media and social media talking point. So that's a huge question the Bears are going to have to answer in the coming weeks and months. How much can they build around Justin Fields in terms of getting an offensive coordinator that can put him in the best position to succeed? Look what Greg Roman did for Lamar Jackson, for example. Or is it a situation where you do a reset if you move on to a new head coach? And look, there are worse problems to have, and I think DJ Moore is onto something in terms of the progress that we've seen from Justin Fields this season. But you need to see a little more because he's going into year 4. You're going to have to pick up that 5th-year option and perhaps even pay him big-time money the year after that. So there's a lot of moving parts to this. I don't hate the idea of moving forward with Justin Fields trying to trade down, but I want to see a little more consistency in terms of playing on time, in terms of getting the ball out. And we've seen flashes of that from Justin, but just not enough to make me feel comfortable saying slam dunk, let's move forward with Justin Fields and build around him at the other positions. Not
saying that DJ is speaking for the entire locker room, but let's say if he has a pulse of what the team wants and they are all fully behind Justin Fields, how difficult of a situation could that be if Chicago does go ahead and say, hey, no, this is what the team wants, but we want to bring in Caleb?
No, that's a great point because locker room chemistry is everything. And I don't know if Matt Eberflus, the head coach, will be there, but he is known for actually being a pretty good leader, even though Bears fans might have a word to say about that. The other issue is this. And, you know, I do the podcast with Rick Spielman. We talk about the draft 24/7, 365. And he'll tell you that you can't let the players decide what's going to happen personnel-wise. And I would imagine if you asked DJ Moore, he would be honest and explain that, yeah, he understands that this is a business and sometimes things don't go the way you want. That's not to take anything away from what Justin Fields has done on the field and the fact that his teammates rally around him and the fact that he's a leader and he's tough and all the other things that we see him do on a weekly basis. I just don't know if long-term, in terms of the money that it's going to have to cost the Bears to put out there, if Justin Fields is going to be the long-term solution. Now, they have a ton of cap space, and I want this to work out so desperately because he is a special talent. But I just want to see, as I noted, a little more consistency in the pass game in terms of the ball coming out when it's supposed to come out and hitting those open receivers. Because if you do that, this team is a playoff team all day long because they are close. They are close, Zach. I just need to see a little bit more from Justin.
Yeah, it sure is going to be very, very interesting and fun to monitor that situation in Chicago as we go forward. Over in New England, things probably not as rosy at all. In your latest draft, you have the Patriots taking Drake May, #2 overall. Is this becoming a situation now where May is clearly distancing himself and becoming the #2 QB, assuming that Williams is taken first off the board?
Nope. And I say that because it's the middle of December, and we got a long way to go. We have the All-Star games in which Drake May and Caleb Williams and certainly Jaden Daniels probably won't participate. But there's a lot to sort out. Now, he's as clean as they come off the field. He comes from a family full of athletes, including a brother who helped lead UNC to a national title in basketball a few years ago. We know about all that. He looks the part in terms of if you built the quarterback in the lab, he looks like Drake May. Not the most productive season stats-wise, but I don't put a lot of that on Drake May. I think the offense was an issue. He's getting accustomed to new playmakers. Didn't get this guy Des Walker until later in the season because of the NCAA sanctions. So there are a lot of concerns there, but there is so much to love about what Drake May does. Great athlete, just like Jaden Daniels. Really good arm, can make plays outside of structure, all the things that we talk about in the modern-day quarterback. But there's going to be a conversation, Zach, about whether Drake May is going to be QB1, because there are some teams that like that consistency more than what we see from Caleb Williams, who's considered more of a freewheeler, even though I think that's almost a folklore talking point at this point. And then Jaden Daniels, the Heisman Trophy winner, had the most productive season of the three quarterbacks we're talking about. He's made the most progress since transfer from Arizona State than any of the quarterbacks we're talking about. And he'll have a chance to be in the QB2, QB3 conversation as well. But we'll sort all that out in the coming, I think there's about 135-ish days until the NFL draft. So we've got plenty of time to sort out 1, 2, and 3. But you can rest assured that 1 and 2 feel pretty cemented, and Jaden Daniels is nipping on the heels at 3 there.
So you speak of Jaden Daniels. Let's talk about him right now, because you have the Falcons taking him at number 10. Of course, my Panthers beating Atlanta yesterday, giving them a tough loss for their hopes of winning the NFC South. Desmond Ridder throwing a pick in the red zone. He's had problems with that all season long. Is that one of the reasons why you feel like the Falcons should take Daniels there at 10?
Yeah, you and I were watching that game, and not together, but I know you're a Panthers fan, and I like to watch Bryce Young and see his throws. But I made a point to go back and watch the Desmond Ridder interception because on broadcast it made 0 sense. So I went back and watch it. The coach's film still made 0 sense. I don't think he saw Xavier Woods, who intercepted that pass. He was sort of hidden behind the receiver he was looking to throw the ball to, and he just appeared out of nowhere, and interceptions happen. You cannot throw interceptions in the red zone, and that's been a hallmark of Desmond Ridder's season so far, and that's not the type of hallmark you want. So this has everything to do with moving on from Desmond Ridder, who just hasn't worked out yet, and that's not to say he can't play in the NFL, but what Jaden Daniels gives you is a lot of what I just talked about when we were talking about Drake May, the athleticism in the open field, and we saw Lamar Jackson do this last night against the Jaguars. That's what Jaden Daniels brings to your offense. If he's in the open field, that is a wrap. He's almost certainly going to score a touchdown, and he's gotten so much better as a passer, has the arm strength, has the ability to find his receivers down the field with anticipation throws, which is a big part of what makes NFL offenses successful in the pass game, and he is a great leader. We know he left Arizona State, and there's the footage of the teammates, ex-teammates excited about his departure. I can guarantee you LSU loved having him, Brian Kelly loved having him, and he was a big part of the reason that they only lost 3 games in the fall, Zach. They could have been much worse off had Jaden Daniels not been there. That's why he was the Heisman Trophy winner, and I think he has a legit chance to be a top 10 pick and be the 3rd quarterback off the board, as I noted a moment ago, perhaps even going higher depending on how the draft process unfolds.
So that's 3 QBs. Let's make it 4 in this segment right now, because you had a mock trade in your grade right here with the Steelers going up to take Michael Penix Jr. Is he the fix for all those offensive issues we've seen in Pittsburgh?
Zach, you're a Panthers fan, and I am, no surprise here, a Steelers fan. So I was trying to trade up to number 1 to get Caleb Williams, but I couldn't afford it in this mock draft. And look, man, you've watched some bad football with the Panthers this year. The Steelers' offense feels like it's coming from the 1850s, not even the 1950s. And what you get from Michael Penix Jr. is a guy who can throw the deep ball. And guess what Deontay Johnson and George Pickens like to do? Run deep. Now, who knows what this roster looks like offensively a year from now? There's so much going on in the locker room. But Michael Penix Jr. is special. He's one of the best deep ball throwers, if not the best deep ball throwers in college football. Yes, there are the injury concerns, but those ACL injuries came when he was at Indiana, along with the shoulder issues. He's been healthy the last 2 seasons for Washington. And he's a better athlete than people give him credit for. He's not Jaden Daniels. He's not Drake May, but he can win in the open field. He can get those extra yards. And Kenny Pickett hasn't worked out thus far. And look, maybe you say, let's roll with Kenny Pickett one more year. I get that. But this Steelers offense, especially under Mike Tomlin, has been incredibly stubborn about making changes when things haven't worked out, whether it's Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator, or sticking with Kenny Pickett too long. It just doesn't seem to be working on a number of levels. Get the right offensive coordinator in there to go with your young quarterback. Help them succeed together instead of having them bang their heads against the proverbial wall. It seems like week in and week out, and I think Michael Penix Jr. is the quickest way to get there. Don't try to lean into the mistakes. Admit them and move on, and this would be a step in the right direction for a Steelers offense that has struggled since Ben Roethlisberger retired.
Ryan, it kind of sounds like you're giving yourself your own little therapy session as well at the same time to talk through the issues with the Steelers.
Yeah, man, you're exactly right. I got to do it publicly. Most people do it in the privacy of their own home, but I got to do it publicly with you. So thank you for lending me an ear, Zach. I appreciate you.
Anytime. I'm here for that. Whatever you need, Ryan Harris Wilson, thank you so much for checking in with us. You can always catch Ryan even more on With the First Pickers podcast. You heard him talk about it just a second ago, along with Rick Spielman. They talk the draft 24/7, 365 to have you covered from every single angle to figure out what your team, what his team, what my team, whatever they need coming up for the draft.